Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. So today I'm here to share my O.W.L.s 2020 TBR. So before that, if you're wondering what is happening with my hair, I don't know. I'm trying to embrace my natural curly hair. It is gonna be work in progress so far. I'm just having fun with it, which obviously it's something. But it's fun. If you don't know what the O.W.L.s and the Magical Readathon is, totally understandable. I will link the announcement video down below where you will hopefully find the majority of the information that you need and a lot of resources down in the description bar. But I will also add a couple of notes just before I start into my TBR. Of things that I definitely did not explain properly in the video. So first of all, according to the Readathon, you can have one career, however there is no maximum on the seminars or the training. So if you want, you can do them all. This is the whole point of it, is kind of an add-on. If you want more challenging stuff, instead of choosing a second career or a third career, you can just do all of the training. And it also allows for extra flexibility because if you have transfiguration in your career and in your seminar, you don't have to read 2 books, so you can see maybe, what was it, Animega's training, I think it was like 4 extra prompts, but some of them might overlap with yours already, so maybe you'll add 1 or 2 or 3 or all 4, and so you can check which one adds less or more and what can kind of fit to you better. I hope that makes sense, but also if you want to, obviously you can read extra books for that. You can count the 2 transfigurations as separate prompts. Up to you, but I'm just saying how I'm kind of set it up to be, but I definitely did not mention that in the video, so entirely my bad and I'm sorry. And I also didn't quite explain it properly. The O.W.L.s take place during the April, and then the nudes bit you don't have to worry until August, because that's an entirely separate month of reading, so you don't have to worry about the nudes just yet. And I think my last little note is that for what was the prompt? So what was it? It was the herbology one. It says Mimulus Mimbletonia, title that starts with an M, and it is an M, but a lot of people thought it was brackets and an I because of the font. If you look at like Muggle studies, the capital M looks exactly the same, but I can totally see why people thought it was an I. It is an M, I can confirm. I think that's about it. Let me walk you through my TBR, which looks like this. So I kind of wanted to go for an easier career this year, so I kept trying to find what I would like to do, but my mind was so stubborn and it just kept going back to the Spellmaker. So I suppose one could say, but wait, why didn't you just make Spellmaker an easier career for nudes when you were setting it up? Because I don't think about myself. I really don't think far ahead. I just want to see what fits the career best rather than like molding it for my own preference. So whilst I think I'm going to hopefully be okay for the O.W.L.s, I don't know what I'm gonna do during the news because I think the news are quite intense there, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. So I have 7 O.W.L.s to sit in the month of April, and then I also decided to maybe if I have the time to go for Mer-People linguistics as well, because I thought it would be a cool little skill to have. I say little, but you know. And that would add 1 extra O.W.L. for me. So yeah, from the top, I'm only gonna talk about the books that are actually for my career. If by some miracle I have extra time, which I do not predict, if I have extra time, I will decide on what book fits another prompt later on, like during the O.W.L.s, but I really do not think that I will have that problem. So the first one that I have to sit is Ancient Runes, and that has to have a heart on the cover or in the title because we are learning about heart runes. I found a perfect fit for this and I really want to get to it, so it's just me kind of trying not to read it before April rolls on. But that is Heartstopper number 3. This is a chunker of a comic, but I really enjoyed my time in the first and second. Both got 4 stars from me. I just really like it. It's basically a story about 2 boys that go into high school, and one is openly gay and the other one, I believe if I remember correctly, is not so much, and it's all about this friendship and then relationship blossoming and a little aspects of daily life, nothing too dramatic in your teen's life. I just thought it would be so perfect for a heart rune because not only does it have a heart in the title, but it's also heartwarming. So Maybe the professor will give me double points, but I doubt it. Then we have ARITHMANCY, which is a magical quality of number 2, which also stands for opposites. I'm supposed to read something outside my favorite genre, which is fantasy or sci-fi. So the most kinda opposite and probably the very least read of mine, or one of the least read of mine genres, is romance. And I actually been feeling quite like I could read it and see what happens. And I have 2 things here, and I actually have not narrowed it down, but I think the one that I'm going for most likely, maybe, is going to be The Flat Share, which is this book about, I think, 2 people who are renting the flat, but one works days and one works nights, and they I think they might even be renting the same room? That's a bit creepy, I'm not sure, but they basically never really meet, but I don't know how they're gonna communicate, but I know that this is a romance, so they obviously have and catch feelings for each other, and it just sounds like it would be really fast going and kind of intriguing seeing that they never meet. That's a concept that I think is quite intriguing for me personally, so I might go for this, or, well, this is the most likely scenario, but or if I feel differently about it, or if I want a shorter read, then I also have this, The Upside of Falling, which I got in the Book Box Club recently, and it's supposed to be this cute romance. But this one is set in high school, so I kind of want to read Fletcher, I think, a little bit more, but I'll see how much time I have. And this might be read instead. Then we have Astronomy, which is night classes. And I'm supposed to read something mainly during dark hours, and I was thinking I should probably go for something closer to a comic, because I don't know how much time, but I usually do read when it's dark, so I don't know why I did that, but I also just tried to include a lot of comics in general, because your girl is not the fastest reader, and especially this and last year, and it's also one that I've been wanting to read for a little while now. So this is Check Please, which is all about this guy who skates and also cooks. I know like nothing about it, but I do know that this is an LGBT plus comic. Love how I say I know and then there's a question mark in my sentence. I've heard good things, so it just seemed like a fitting read. Editing G here, very much have forgotten charms. So for the charms, the prompt is Lumos Maxima and read something with a white cover. I'm going for another comic, which I just got today actually, so I couldn't even show you there if I wanted to, but it is Fence. This is all about fencing, and I also think LGBT as well, so we got that too. The next thing that I have is Divination, which I was supposed to select a couple of books and then assign numbers to them and use a random number generator, which I actually done in one of my evenings, and now in retrospect, looking back to it, I probably should have filmed it, but I didn't. I had a couple of comics. I had Tokyo, I think Attack on Titan, and then I had a couple of books too. Oh yeah, I had An Absolute Remarkable Thing, which I actually did really want for it to win, but alas it did not. So I got a book, and that one is The Shadows Between Us. This is supposed to be a very Slytherin-y, kind of like morally grey. I also think it's pretty romance heavy, so I suppose I'm having a pretty romantic April so far. And I was intrigued ever since I got this. I have not read The Daughter of the Pirate King, which is by the same author, but I did hear that it was fun for people who did read it, and so far I've been hearing good things about this as well. So it says, Alessandra is tired of being overlooked, but she has a plan to gain power. Woo the Shadow King, marry him, kill him, and take his kingdom for herself. Then I have History of Magic, for which I need to read something with witches or wizards, because we're learning about witch hunts. Obviously, there has to be a Harry Potter book involved in my readathon for myself personally. Also, I need to get I need to find questions for Twitter, so it was never a question that Harry Potter book has to go into one of the categories. As this is year 3 and we are focusing on Prisoner of Azkaban, we are reading Prisoner of Azkaban. I say we because this is actually our April's Moony buddy read for my Patreon buddies. So we're gonna be reading this, and then we're gonna mark our favorite parts and like problematic parts and favorite moments and characters and everything that we want to talk about, and we're gonna talk about it actually not on Discord this time, but during the monthly live chat that I do there. I am so excited about this. It's one of these things that I really look forward to and makes like today's kind of easier because anxiety is high. So excited to chat about that, and also very excited to delve back into the world. I feel like it's been a hot minute, though probably hasn't been that long at all, but I love rereading Harry Potter every year and don't plan on stopping. It's actually the only book that I have ever reread, like, or the only series, but also book, because I don't really reread books. And then the last one for my actual career is Transfiguration, which is about animagus, animagi. And that is supposed to be a book that includes transformation, and this one is actually the second book for A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is called A Heart So Fierce and Broken, which also would fit for the Heart Ancient Runes. But I'm reading it for Transfiguration because it just fit in well, and I'm very excited. I've actually read the first in the series, which is also a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so hence the transformation, because obviously the beast transforms. And I read the first one during O.W.L.s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was during the news, but I think it was during the O.W.L.s, and I actually really enjoyed it. I flew through it. It's kind of like very simplistic writing. I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely see it's not for everyone. The writing is kind of like bite-sized sentences, which I really like, but some sentences really like hit the spot. So I'm very excited to see how the second one compares. I'm a little bit nervous because I've heard that this focuses a lot on, is it Grey? And I was kind of okay with the focuses that we had in the first book, so I'm a little bit worried, but also hopeful because I really enjoyed that first one, so I'm excited to see what this one holds as well. If I do have time and I can get my Mer-People linguistics done, that means that I also have to pass for biology, which has the Mimbless Mimbletonia prompt, so the title that starts with an M. I have been saving this for the O.W.L.s for the longest, and that is Mooncakes. Mooncakes, I honestly don't know what this is about, but I've always wanted to read this ever since it kind of surfaced because it just looks so like wholesome, and I thought it would be super cool. Oh, I think there's like transformation as well, so it might actually fit that too. Sorry for the light, literally changes every second, but if you're not new, you know, I live in Scotland and it's just the norm here. But yeah, Mooncakes would be for, you know, starts with an M. Super excited to read that. And that concludes it. So let me know what your career is if you're participating and what your TBR is. If you are struggling to find a book for a particular prompt, don't forget that there's that spreadsheet where people submit their recommendations for the books that fit those prompts. Such a great tool. I actually use it as well to like find things and see if I have them or not. So highly recommend checking that out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Chat to me down below. Chat to everyone. Like, chat to one another. Let's distract ourselves from everything. Hope you're well. Stay safe, stay awesome, and stay kind. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!